What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome back to another video on my channel. My name is Josh Fann of ShowMeFootball.com and ArrowheadAddict.com, covering your Kansas City Chiefs. And today I am joined by none other than Michael D'Arcy of KC Sports Report. Michael, how are you doing tonight, first of all?
I'm doing fantastic, Josh. We have finally made it through the gauntlet of the NFL offseason. It does not matter what the Chiefs did last year. It matters what they do this year. They kick off against the Baltimore Ravens tomorrow in the NFL home opener. This should be a great game, and I'm just excited to actually have football back to talk about.
Yeah, it's going to be a great matchup here between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens, an AFC Championship game rematch. Back in Arrowhead, though, on banner night, as the Chiefs get to rub that Super Bowl banner in Lamar Jackson and the Ravens' face, because we talked about it in our post game last year after the AFC Championship game. The Ravens, this was their year. Like, that was their year to go and take it. And that was the weakest Chiefs team we had seen in a while. I don't even think we scored a touchdown in the second half of that game. We may not even have scored a point. Maybe we kicked a field goal, but I remember it was very low scoring in the second half, and the Ravens still couldn't take advantage. They couldn't capitalize. But it's a new year, Michael. Like you said, it doesn't matter what happened last year. What matters is this year. And in this game, the Kansas City Chiefs are favored by 3 points, and most people are putting money on the Chiefs in this game. But, Michael, what are your initial impressions of this matchup? These are two teams that, despite the fact that the goal hasn't changed for them, they look very different in a lot of ways. But, what are your initial impressions?
I don't want to say that week one is a trap game for the Chiefs, but this feels like a trap game. This could almost be a 2023 NFL home opener type of game for the Chiefs. Listen, the Ravens are really good. On paper, they're really good. On the field, they're really good. And while they have a lot of things that are going to be different, no Patrick Queen, and they brought in Derrick Henry from the Tennessee Titans, this is going to be a very different Ravens team, but you could argue that they're going to be a better Ravens team. And so that is a scary thing, because they were almost good enough to go to the Super Bowl last year if it wasn't for Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid spoiling that party. But I do think that, this is going to be a difficult game for the Chiefs. And quite frankly, this is not a game that I think the Chiefs have in the bag. I think that this is going to be a game that comes down to the wire, and it could be like a last team to hold the football ends up winning this game. Baltimore always plays us really tight, and I think that they're going to do that in this game. They're motivated to get revenge. I mean, we beat them at their house in an AFC Championship game. If there's not a time for revenge, there is no better time than this game for Baltimore to do that. But the Chiefs are also going to come into this game knowing that, Baltimore's hungry, and we lost this game last year, and I don't think they want to do that again. So I think that this is going to be a great way to kick off the season. Two really big, heavy titans in the NFL, in the AFC, in Baltimore and Kansas City. And I think that this is going to be a game that maybe we look back at 10 to 12 weeks down the line and say, wow, this is a big game.
I think it'll definitely play into playoff seeding later down the line. These are going to be two teams that we expect to see in the postseason with a relatively high seed. So this game, though it's early, it could end up later deciding who's the 1 or the 2 seed in the AFC, and that's a big deal. Last year, that game was in Baltimore for the AFC Championship game, but the Chiefs would like to have that at their house this time around. But last year, this was kind of a defensive slugfest between these two teams. The Ravens had the number 1 defense, and the Chiefs also had a top 5 defense. And while the defenses still look to be pretty good for both teams, we know the Ravens lost a little bit. You mentioned Patrick Queen. They lost him. The Kansas City Chiefs, they lost L'Jarius Sneed, ended up trading him to the Tennessee Titans. A lot of shuffling between these two teams and the Tennessee Titans. But, it was a defensive slugfest, and even though the defenses still look to be pretty good, I think there's going to be some early kinks to work out on both sides, and usually the offenses have the advantage in these earlier games because the defense just has to adjust. They don't have much film on the other opponent yet. The offense just has the advantage. And I think this is going to be a very high-scoring game. You have the new-look Chiefs offense, right, with Hollywood Brown, who won't play in this game, but they have Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, Rashee Rice is going to be playing in this game. And then you have that running back room with Pacheco, Samaje Perine, who we expect to play, and many others. But with that being said, the Ravens also have Derrick Henry on their side, and we know the Ravens love to run the ball. And they just picked up probably the best running back in the league last offseason. That's going to be a challenge. I look at the Kansas City Chiefs defensive tackle room, especially behind Chris Jones. That's something that I've really been emphasizing this offseason that I see as a weakness on the Chiefs. And that defensive tackle room trying to stop Derrick Henry kind of terrifies me a little bit. But I also think if you're the Ravens, what terrifies you is the Chiefs' passing attack wasn't very good last year, still beat you, and they actually kind of tore you up in that first half. And now this year they're coming at you with a new group of wide receivers that is very talented. So I expect this game to be very offense heavy.
I think offense heavy also because it's week 1, and I think we're going to see a lot of missed tackles. Week 1 is the time where we see the defense work out the kinks. And so a higher scoring game in week 1, is the usual. So I think that we see both teams really do what they want to offensively. And I like that because I think in a shootout, I like Patrick Mahomes' odds, even without Hollywood Brown. So that is going to be exciting. One thing to look at on the Ravens side of things is 3 out of the 5 offensive line starters of last year are gone. And the only 2 they have left are their center in Lindenbaum and then Ronnie Stanley. And Ronnie Stanley has not been the Ronnie Stanley that he was when he was an all-pro back in 2019. So we might be able to get to Lamar Jackson. We might be able to do some actual damage to him. And if the Chiefs can do that, I think that the Ravens might be in for a long night.
Well, and a big reason why the Ravens lost that AFC Championship game was because the coaching staff put it in Lamar Jackson's hands and asked him to throw, make a few really tough throws. He turned it over multiple times. He was harassed. Charles Omenihu forced a fumble on him in the pocket. Of course, Charles Omenihu won't be playing in this game, but the Chiefs have other guys in that rotation that they trust. And you mentioned the offensive line situation for the Baltimore Ravens. So the Kansas City Chiefs are going to have an opportunity, especially playing in front of their home crowd. That always does get the defense pumped up. They're going to have the chance to cause some turnovers yet again. But a lot of people criticized John Harbaugh and the Ravens coaching staff last year for abandoning the run. I'm not so sure they're going to do that in this game, though, with having Derrick Henry back there. They're going to stick true to their ways. Their strength, their bread and butter is running the ball. They did abandon that last year in the AFC Championship game, but I think they're going to try to run it down the Chiefs' throats as many times as possible in this one. And so, the defense, the linebackers, and the defensive tackles, the defensive line as a whole is just going to have to take that into account.
Oh, yeah. And listen, Baltimore, I think they finally learned their lesson, and they went out with the intention of, running the football, playing their kind of football, and that's just running the football. So I think we are going to see Derrick Henry get a heavy dose on the ground in week 1 because you've got all these defensive missed tackles that you're expecting. And if you're having trouble tackling, normal guys, Derrick Henry is a big man to take down. And, the Chiefs have had problems in the past in the regular season stopping him in Tennessee. So it is going to be a long week 1 for Chris Jones and this defensive line. So I expect Baltimore to run the ball. And I think that's really the only chance they have to win this game. If they want to try to, go bar for bar, band for band with Patrick Mahomes by throwing the football, they will lose this game in 3 quarters. So I think that is why they're going to run the football, try to play their kind of football at, on the road. And I think that, if Baltimore wants to have any chance to win, it's by doing that. But even then, the Chiefs are going to make it tough for them offensively because I think that they're going to throw everything in the kitchen at stopping Derrick Henry and basically do what they did in that AFC Championship game and say, Lamar Jackson, you beat us. We don't think, that your running backs have any problem beating us. We want you to beat us. And that's how they won.
Yeah. So one matchup that I'm looking at in particular when it comes to stopping Derrick Henry, though, and I haven't seen a ton of people mention this despite his great performance last time. I believe that was the last time they faced Derrick Henry. Was a few years ago. And Nick Bolton, as a rookie, had that really good game and just kind of single-handedly shut down Derrick Henry. Nick Bolton, everyone loves to rag on him for his coverage ability, and I get it. But his strength is playing downhill, stopping the run, making tackles for a loss. And that's one guy that I'm looking towards. He needs to step up in this game. your strength. This is your game. This is your type of game, Nick Bolton. Go out there and stop Derrick Henry. Make those plays behind the line of scrimmage. Stop these Derrick Henry runs early. Those runs that Derrick Henry would break off typically for 7, 8, 9 yards against any other team. We need to kind of hold that to 4 or 5 yards. That's going to be huge in this game. You want to limit the amount of first downs that the Baltimore offense is getting. And then, if they are gashing you in the run game, that's just going to make the passing game easier for them. I know you said that you don't think that they can win trying to keep up with the Chiefs passing game, but I do have some questions about that cornerback 2 spot on the Chiefs still, which, was left behind by L'Jarius Sneed. And in that AFC Championship game, without L'Jarius Sneed, we might not win because he was the one that punched that ball out from Zay Flowers at the goal line. We probably don't win that game if not for that play by L'Jarius Sneed. Not that this game is going to come down to one singular play like that, but you have the second-year wide receiver Zay Flowers, who was really good against the Kansas City Chiefs last year. And then Steve Spagnuolo and this Chiefs coaching staff just keeps repeating the same thing over and over again. We don't have a true cornerback 2. We're still looking for answers there. And that scares me just a little bit heading into this matchup.
You'd like them to have at least somebody, whether it is a Jalen Watson or a Joshua Williams, that you feel confident in getting the job done. And I think that might have just been for the media, what Spags said, because listen, those 2 guys played very well in an AFC Championship game to help this team win a Super Bowl. So I feel like they have the horses in the stable. The only issue is that they haven't seen a workload of a 17-game season. That is the only concern that really I have. But, I think that the Chiefs are going to play a lot of safeties on the field to kind of help out that number 2 corner and figure out, who's going to guard some of the better, wide receivers and tight ends of the Baltimore Ravens. Mark Andrews is playing tomorrow, right?
Yep.
Okay. He's always questionable, so I had to ask. But, I
feel
like
last year, we should mention that in the AFC Championship game, that was his first game coming back from that broken leg, I believe it was earlier in the season. He'll be back at full strength this time.
Okay. And listen, there was a time where he was the top 3 tight end in football. He might not be anymore, but he's still a problem that the Chiefs defensive back group is going to have to figure out. And so I like our odds of shutting him down, but I think the real test is Derrick Henry. Can you stop Derrick Henry? And I expect it might take a drive or 2, a series, to figure out how to, stop Derrick Henry, get the defensive kinks worked out, and then they'll be better on. But there might be a couple drives where it looks like Derrick Henry is going to rush for 350 yards, but that's just the beginning. I think the Chiefs defense will settle down and be okay. Or maybe they start off hot like they did last season, but I think that there might be some kinks they have to work through, at least in the first quarter.
Well, and that's just typically how Steve Spagnuolo defenses have operated. Is it usually takes a little bit for them to settle in, or it looks like, oh, this might be a rough night, and then all of a sudden, they really tighten up and keep the other team from really ever entering the red zone. I mean, this defense really carried this team last year. We know that, but the expectation this year is that the defense can kind of play a little bit more freely, and because the offense is going to be better. But also as a result of that, I think what you'll see is the defense taking some risks and starting out maybe a little bit rough, because Steve Spagnuolo is going to play around a little bit with this defense, because it's not so much like last year where it's like, okay, we cannot let the other team score on this drive or else we don't know if the offense can dig us out of this hole.
Yeah. And I think that the offense will be better this year than it was last year, and that'll give the Chiefs a little bit more breathing room. The only thing that concerns me, and we've seen it in the past, where the defense can be projected to be really good, and then they not be so good, and the offense, we never see the 2 phases of the game line up at the same time. It's either the Chiefs offense is incredible and the defense sucks, or the defense is incredible and the offense can't buy a touchdown. So yeah. I hope that's not what we see tomorrow. I hope we see more of an even attack, and hopefully we do with the wide receivers the Chiefs brought in this offseason. But a lot of pressure is going to be on this defense and the defensive line. A lot of the room on the cornerback room as well, like figuring out who can be your number 2 cornerback this year. That's a big question the Chiefs are going to have to answer.
Yeah, to me, this game is going to come down to how well the defense performs because I expect the offense to put up a lot of points. I think the offense will put up plenty of points. You had Patrick Mahomes there. You also had that Patrick Mahomes Travis Kelce connection, which really did most of the damage in the first half of that AFC Championship game last year. And then they were basically able to put it on cruise control. Not that that was what they were trying to do. I think they wanted to score in the second half of that game, but it came down to a situation where the Chiefs said, okay, the defense they have this. We just need to not try to do too much and turn the ball over, make some stupid mistake. Patrick Mahomes really played game manager. But my point is that you have that connection with Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes at the minimum, and I think that's going to give you a lot of points in this game. The Ravens, even last year, had no answer for Travis Kelce. I don't see any additions that they made that really would change that at all. A lot of people hyped up Kyle Hamilton as the best safety in the league last year, at least one of the best safeties. And yes, he is, but
Got cooked.
He got cooked, yeah, by Travis Kelce. I don't have too many concerns about the offense, but I think this is going to be a high-scoring game. The defense has to show up. Going to be watching the first and second level of that defense, stopping Derrick Henry, especially the defensive tackles, watching that matchup, and then, of course, who emerges at cornerback too. Those are kind of the big question marks for me.
I think it's really important to see the Chiefs offense come out and put to bed a lot of the a lot of the issues that they faced last year. Yeah, the concerns. They can't come out and drop 17 points. They have to come out in this game and drop 25 plus and look good doing it. Or else we're going to be right back where we were last season, where, it was just, can the Chiefs wide receiver step up? And I really don't want to talk about that in 2024. So hopefully we see an offense that, looks rejuvenated with the wide receivers that they signed. And I think that we probably will, but I think that's what I'm going to be watching for. Did we get any additional help in that wide receiver room? Did we get an improvement to last year's offense, which I think that we will, but I need to see it first.
Of course. Yeah, no, that's completely understandable. So, Michael, I think we've broken down this matchup enough. I think it's time to make our predictions. So, I'm going to put you on the spot first. Who wins this game and what's the score?
I think the Chiefs win. I think it's going to be a incredible game. It's going to be close. Both of these teams are some of the best the AFC has to offer, and week one means that both these teams are going to be pretty raw and still trying to figure it out. But I think we see a higher scoring game. I think one that goes back and forth, but a team might take a little bit of a lead in the fourth quarter and hold on to it. I think the Chiefs win 31-27, maybe 31-28, maybe a field goal difference. I think that this could very well be a game where maybe the last team to touch the football ends up winning. And hopefully that's the Chiefs. I really don't want to sit here and talk about, another NFL home opener loss, but I think the Chiefs have learned from last year's mistakes, and I think they'll win this game in front of 77,000 fans screaming when they drop a second banner for the second year in a row. So I think the Chiefs get the job done 31-28 or 31-27.
Interesting. So people are going to be disappointed by this, and I'm sorry, but I'm going to say the Baltimore Ravens win this game by a final score of 31-30. And I agree with you. It's going to come down to who has the ball last. I think the Ravens probably kick a field goal to win it as time expires. Justin Tucker, obviously one of the best kickers in the NFL. It's a matchup we didn't talk about. Harrison Butker versus Justin Tucker. Those are two of the best kickers. It's going to be a kicking display tomorrow night, Michael. But yeah, so this to me just has one of those sloppy, lazy, uninterested kind of early season losses for the Kansas City Chiefs against a future playoff opponent that they're later going to beat in the postseason. Because you take the Bengals and the Bills, for example, two teams that we've seen in the playoffs several times over the last few years. We always seem to lose the regular season matchup against those teams, though. But then when it comes time for the postseason, we have a pretty good record against those guys. I mean, Josh Allen can't beat us in the playoffs. And of course, we have finally that AFC Championship game win over Joe Burrow and the Bengals from a couple years ago. I just see this game. Some position group is going to look really bad. I'm looking at that cornerback 2 position. I'm really concerned about it. And it's going to be one that is mostly responsible for this kind of loss. and the defense is just going to have to work some things out early in the season. The Ravens are going to come out with a vengeance. They want to avenge that AFC Championship game loss. This game means more to them. This is their Super Bowl. And the Chiefs lose 31-30. That's what I'll say. But I think that these two teams will see each other again in the postseason, and the Chiefs will win that matchup.
Well, this is absolutely a losable game if you're a Chiefs fan. Like, the Ravens are some of the best teams, the AFC has to offer. And so to think that Baltimore has no shot of coming in here and upsetting the Chiefs after, what they were last season and, how the Chiefs have started off slow the past couple seasons, I definitely think that Baltimore can win it. And honestly, they might not be a bad pick considering the betting money that's coming in on Kansas City, the Chiefs being favored by 3. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Baltimore pulled off the upset. I really wouldn't be. But, I'm confident that if the ball is in Patrick Mahomes' hands late in the fourth quarter, he finds a way to get the job done and march down the field and score. I think I've got a lot of question marks on Lamar Jackson's ability to complete big-time throws in important moments and late in games. And he's, a great quarterback when he's up and they can run the football. But if the Chiefs punch them in the mouth early and they have to play from behind, it could get ugly very quickly. But I think that it is a close game that I would not be surprised if the Baltimore Ravens were able to upset the Chiefs.
Yeah, no, and you make some fair points. I mean, the Ravens are a team that does struggle when you get up on them big early, and the Chiefs have been able to do that most of the time when they play them and take them out of their game, take them out of their rhythm, force Lamar to throw. But I do think this is a game that's going to come down to who has the ball last, and I'll just say that the Ravens get the ball last and they kick a field goal to win it.
Josh, we should go back and look at how many times you've picked an opposing team to upset the Chiefs, how often you're right/wrong. Because sometimes I feel like you pick against the Chiefs and it's kind of like the good luck charm, and then the Chiefs go on to win. There's probably also some times
it is a little bit of that. Sometimes it is like, okay, I don't think the Chiefs are going to win this. Other times I think they're going to win, but I need to look good in my predictions, or I'm confident that they're going to win, but it's just, putting a gun to my head, ask me who's going to win. Sometimes I just got to give a different answer. I got to say the other team, but I think this is going to be one of those early season losses that just, it's whatever, it's not going to destroy the season or anything, but you move on and the Chiefs will go on and win 4 straight after that.
For my record prediction's sake, I really need them to win this first game. But I wouldn't be mind blown if the Ravens were able to pull off the upset. But, hopefully the Chiefs can finally get an NFL home opener victory, because 77,000 fans are not going to leave Arrowhead very happy if they lose. But guess what? The post-game show on both of our channels will be something electric if they do lose. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I hope I don't have to talk about that. But, hey, man, for the sake of being right, I just got to give my honest prediction. So we'll see what happens. The season begins tomorrow night, folks. Kansas City Chiefs versus Baltimore Ravens. Enjoy the game, everyone. But before we sign off, Michael, where can the fans find you?
You guys can find me on YouTube at KC Sports Report, Instagram KC_Sports Report, and Twitter at KC Sports Report.
And there you guys have it. That'll be in the description down below, as always. And as for me, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this. You can check out my work on showmefootball.com and arrowheadaddict.com for more. And we will see you all in the next one. Go Chiefs!